Hello, my name is Arthur Zhao. Today, I'm going to explain the form RECO Information Guide. It is a form required by the law TRESA 2002 since December 1st, 2023. All the realtors has to send this form and explain this form to their potential customers before they providing services to the customers. So let's get into it. If you don't know what is RECO, RECO is Real Estate Council of Ontario. It's Ontario real estate regulator. Basically, it enforcement the code, the new act. Also, bring the real estate industry, the professionalism, also increase customer protections. Basically, it's not a realtor association. Basically, it's protect the customers and regulate the realtors. So here's the RECO website, reco.ontario.ca. When you get into the website, the first page, you'll see the RECO information guide. Let's open this one. Okay. It is a 13-page form. I understand some realtors doesn't send this one to their clients at the beginning, probably because it's a 13-page long PDF and they don't want to get too much offense to their client. And also sometimes they are not fully understand what's the detail of the form, and they are afraid of explaining this. Right? But it is a requirement. Like sooner or later, you'll get this form from your realtor. So as a realtor, we could send this form from the RECO website directly and let the client acknowledge saying that they received this form and fully explained by their realtor. Let's say it will cost me half an hour to go through this form. And sometimes there's also a representation agreement. So it might take a full hour to explain all the representation forms and all the this information form. So for the representation form, I'll take another video to explain. In this guide, so there's a term brokerage means real estate brokerage. Real estate agent means agent or broker. Client means buyer and seller. So buyer and seller can also mean lease and leaser, so tenant and landlord. Either when the agent wants to provide services to a person or right now under the new act, the customer can represent themselves. So what we call is self-represented party, so SRP. Inside of this guide, there's basically there's 5 parts. First part is working with a real estate agent. What's the benefit of working with a real estate agent? And the second part is the risk of representing your client, representing yourself as a customer. And the third part is signing a contract with a real estate brokerage. What will be included, like what kind of terms you'll see in the representation agreement, and understanding multiple representation. So we're going to go through every part. The last part is how to make a complaint if you don't satisfy the agent services or you think the agent breaks the code. Okay, first part, working with a real estate agent. Here's the services at the realtor. If you are a seller, the agent can advise you the market condition, and also help you advise your home from the buyers and arrange the home inspection and appraisals, arrange showings, and also vet offers and potential buyers to ensure they can afford. And as a buyer agent, an agent can assist the buyer getting the pre-approval and also let the buyer aware of the tax exemptions, such as the land transfer tax. For Toronto, there's double land transfer tax rebate for first-time home buyers. and also gathering information, share neighborhood informations. Also making inquiries about the zoning, and also advise the client the best approach for competing offers, such as holding offer situation. Actually, the agents would advise how to handle the competing offer situation to the seller as a listing agent as well. Help client to get the better terms, like negotiate with the other side, and guide you through the paperwork, mainly about such as the APS, agreement purchase and sell, and also the representation agreement. I'm going to go over all those agreements in another video, and provide referrals to the other professionals such as lawyers, inspectors, and contractors. The main benefit of or we can say a duty of a brokerage is undivided loyalty. We have to protect client's best interest, and also disclose everything we know, and take steps to find out what is important for the buyer, such as the buyer doesn't want leakage happens in a house, or there's no grow ups, or there's they want the basement has a permit. Such information as a realtor, we have to try our best to find out, and also disclose to our buyers, such as the motivation of the sellers, and also the confidentiality. So we, as a buyer agent, we won't disclose any private information or any motivation to the sellers. If we are representing the seller, also we cannot disclose the motivation, the information about the sellers as well. And another thing is avoid the conflict of interest. And as a client, you also have responsibilities, such as you need to let the realtor know what's important for you, and also you're gonna make sure to share all the information that's relevant to you, such as what your plan after you purchase this home. Also, respond agents' question quickly. Of course, the agent need to respond the client's question as soon as possible, and understand the terms of the agreement. As a realtor, we need to explain all the terms to our client. Pay the fees you have agreed on. So later on page 7, we're going to go through the part of the terms might be shown on the representation agreement. The second part of this form is about the risk of representing yourself. As I mentioned, we call a SRP, so self-represented party. There's a risk to represent the clients themselves. The main reason is the knowledge level, the expertise, and also all the benefits we mentioned using a realtor, such as to negotiate the offers. And for myself, lots of times the buyers may think they have enough experience, but sometimes they don't know what to do when they fall into a really weird situation. It's because they don't have enough experience to purchase a property. I'll give you an example. The buyer may see 100 houses when they want to buy a property, but for an experienced agent, they may see thousands of houses before, and they may make hundreds of offers already. And also they may experience the difficulties for the offer negotiation, and they know what to do and what kind of situation what's the best way to suggest at the realtor. So, and also how to talk to the other end, like how to talk to the seller as a buyer agents. And RECO recommend the client to seek legal professionals such as like lawyers. If you are a buyer, you can ask lawyers' opinion. And if you are a buyer representing yourself, you can let the lawyer draft the offer for you. Also, you can ask the leasing agent to provide assistance to draft an offer for you, but you have to provide what kind of terms you want to include in the agreement. Later on, it will be mentioned in this form, the leasing agent will only protect the seller's best interest. And here it mentions if the SRP wants to working with a leasing agent, the leasing agent is only working the best benefit of the sellers. And all the information as a SRP bar tell the leasing agent will tell everything to their seller's client. And the leasing agent cannot provide any services, opinions such as about the price and such about the market. They cannot tell SRP using their knowledges, and they can only provide assistance, which is, like I mentioned, draft offer, but based on the buyer's request. But as an SRP, buyers, they can always change their mind. Like before they submit an offer, they may want hire a real estate agent to work together. Okay, next part would be signing a contract with a real estate brokerage. Right now, we have two representation formats. One is brokerage representation, another one is designated representation. The example would be if this brokerage is under brokerage representation, once a client signed a representation agreement with one agent, all the other agents in the same brokerage also have responsibilities to this client. But as a designated brokerage, once a client signed a representation with one agent, the other agents in the brokerage doesn't have any responsibility to this client, unless there's more agents add into the representation agreement as a designated agent as well. What to look for a representation agreement? Like we use 300 as a brokerage representation and 371 for designated bar representation and 372 for the tenant representation agreement. If it's for leasing side, is 271 and 272 and 200 for brokerage representation agreement. What you'll see on the representation agreement is a designated representative name, and also the other details such as the seller and the seller's name, the seller's property, and also the geographic, like as a bar representation agreement, it will see which area like the client and the bar agents agree to work with, such as City of Toronto, York region, Peel region, Durham region, or like probably like all the area is on the agreement. Also, there's property types such as freehold property, condo property, and sometimes we could put the MS number of the ones we have seen with the customer, with the client on the representation agreement. Okay, and move on to for the services. Right now, all the representation agreement has a page include all the services. Other than the services mentioned in this form, every realtor has their own services, probably have their own values they want to provide to the client. They'll mention in the representation agreement as well. Like I said, there's no standard set of services. And also for the commission part, if you are a seller and the amount you agree to pay will include it in the agreement, and also what kind of services you're going to receive, such as photographer, staging, or even if cleaning, sometimes repair, and virtual tour, 3D, like everything should be in that schedule of the listing agreement. And what's included in this fee, such as 2.5% or 2%, and also how much you agree to pay to the buyer side, and also what if it's a multiple representation, what's the total commission going to be? If you are a buyer, it will say most of the time the seller will pay their commission, but in some cases the seller doesn't want to pay the commission. But this information as a buyer agent has to disclose to their buyers, and let the buyers to decide if the buyer wants to pay, or we can move on to another property. And also, I want to mention that if it's the client's fault causing the deal doesn't close, the agent can come back to the client, ask for their permission as well. So there will be a termination clause in my representation agreement, but in some of the other agents' representation agreement, it might not be. So the client can always discuss with the agent how they can cancel the representation agreement. There will be a time frame on the first page mentioned how long this agreement. There will be an expiry date. It might be 2 months, might be 3 months. If it's a listing, so for the seller, the Toronto Real Estate Board minimum requirement is 60 days. But for the, to list it on the realtor.ca. But for the buyers, there's no minimum requirement. The buyers can sign 1 day, can sign 5 days, or can sign a week, 2 weeks, even if over a year. As long as the property is purchased within the time frame, the agent is responsible for the client. Also, the client needs to pay the commission to the agent. Okay, and if there's no termination clause, the buyer cannot cancel the agreement if the agent doesn't agree. Okay, and another thing is multiple representation. So in the multiple representation situation, the agent has to be imperial. So the agent cannot represent the best interest of either party. So basically, the agent can only deliver the information to the other party, not make any judgment or suggestions to either party. So another thing is if the brokerage wants to change a different designated representation, like I mentioned, if the brokerage is designated brokerage, the client has to agree. Otherwise, they cannot change the agents. Like I mentioned, there will be an expiry date. Besides the expiry date, there will be a mandatory initial for every client. A holdover clause, I'll give you an example. Probably it's easier to understand. So let's say as a client, they have a representation agreement signed with one agent. Expiry date is May 1st. Also, there's a holdover clause for 30 days. The agent showed the client one property on April 15th, but after May 1st, the representation agreement expired. The client still wants to buy the property within the 30 days. The client has to pay the agents because there's 30 days holdover period. But there's no minimum requirement. The holdover period can be 1 day or can be 90 days. Like all these terms is negotiated by the client and the realtor they want to work with. So I suggest all the client takes their time, read the information guide, do some research to see what kind of agent you are looking for, such as you're looking for an experienced agent, or you are looking for an agent can work fully committed to you, or you want to looking for an agent has designations, have to client reviews, or you want an agent, probably you want to use your friends, it doesn't matter. You have to spend your time, do the research, and select the best realtor you want to work with. Okay, the second part is understanding the multiple representation. So there's two parts, brokerage representation and designated representation. So both format can have multiple representation. But the important thing is, before the agent can be represent both parties, one of the party has to be agreed, such as if a seller's agent already lists a property for sale, the buyer came in and asked the listing agent to become their agent. Right now, the agent has to ask the seller for consent. There's a form for multiple representation for sellers, also for buyers. If the seller agrees, then the both form will be signed and there will be a multiple representation. It's important to understand the risk for multiple representations. Like I mentioned, when multiple representation happens, the agent cannot protect any interest of any client. Okay, so the client can refuse to for the multiple representation. And also, since this year, the new law allow the sellers to open the content of the buyer's offers, like we say an open bidding process. So the seller can decide to open the best price, best closing date, or the best conditions. But the buyer has to agree for the seller to disclose their offers information. So there will be a form for that, and there will be a clause for the buyers to include it in their agreement. If they don't agree, they can have an option to back out. I see in this market right now, probably it's not going to work as a benefit of the sellers, but when the market is getting hotter, when we a seller's market, this case might happen. Okay, and also how to make a complaint. First, contact the brokerage. If the brokerage wants to change a different agents, and they have to ask your permission. Or if you don't satisfy the client, the agent's services, you think they did something wrong, they break the law, I have to remind you, like there's lots of rules by Total Risk Board, also by RECO, such as the agent cannot tell the lockbox code to the customer, cannot let the customer to see the house by themselves. Otherwise, they will get heavily fined. So my experience is these 2 years, lots of realtors get fined by these cases, such as 10,000, 15,000. And also, if the agent really did something bad to the client, and the client always can complain to RECO through email or through phone number, the RECO will start the whole process of the investigation. Okay. If you have any questions about this form, you can always contact me anytime. Once you receive the explanation from the realtor's name, the brokerage name, when this guide was provided, and the client's name, and when the client signed will be on the last page. Thank you so much.